Hey friends, in today's video, we are going to be diving into one of my favorite topics, books about autism and neurodiversity, specifically ones that focus on the experience of autistic adults. These books have helped me better understand myself as an autistic woman, and I hope that they can do the same for you. So grab a drink, get comfy, and let's get into it. Oh, hey there. If you're new here, my name's Kathlena, and I'm autistic with a heavy dash of ADHD. My channel is all about celebrating neurodiversity and my experiences as a late diagnosed autistic person. If that sounds like your vibe, I invite you to subscribe. So the first book that we're going to talk about was the first book that I ever read on autism, and it completely shifted my perception of the autistic experience and really rocked my world because I felt so heavily reflected in this book. And that book was Autism in Heels by Jennifer Cook O'Toole. This book is a deeply personal and eye-opening memoir of Jennifer's life and her experience navigating adulthood, relationships, and social expectations. She breaks down the stereotypes about autism with humor and insight, sharing what it's like to constantly mask and conform to neurotypical expectations. What stood out to me was her exploration of the intersection between autism and femininity. Jennifer talks about how autistic women often fly under the radar because we're conditioned to perform in socially acceptable ways. But underneath all of that masking, we're struggling. Her writing for me was both empowering and relatable, especially if you felt like you were constantly trying to live up to unrealistic expectations. It's witty and raw, and it feels like you're having a conversation with a friend that just gets it. Another thing that really stood out to me about this book was that it was the first time that I had heard or seen anybody talking about the connection between EDs and autism, and that also really kind of took me by surprise and stood out. The next book that I read was Odd Girl Out by Laura James. This one was quite a contrast from Autism in Heels, but still equally impactful. It's a beautifully written memoir about Laura's late autism diagnosis and the journey that she took reevaluating her life with this new lens, something that I think all of us do. She talks openly about sensory overload and the misunderstandings in relationships and a sense of just not quite fitting in that I think a lot of us can relate to. I think one of the most moving parts of the book was how she reflects on her marriage and motherhood. She's honest about the struggles and joys of balancing these relationships while also navigating her autistic needs. I really appreciated her descriptions of sensory overload. They're very vivid and really relatable. She put words to feelings that I've experienced but couldn't describe. If you're looking for something reflective, relatable, and deeply human, this is a must. The next book that I want to talk about is called Divergent Mind by Janara Narenberg. Forgive me if I said that wrong. This book takes a broader look at neurodivergence, focusing on women with autism, ADHD, sensory processing disorder, and more. Janara digs into the science and cultural bias that make it so hard for women to get diagnosed or even recognized as neurodivergent. What I really loved about this book was how it reframes neurodivergence as a strength rather than a flaw. The author explores how societal norms overlook the unique talents and perspectives of neurodivergent people, and she encourages us to embrace our differences. It's also packed with actionable advice, like how to advocate for yourself in a medical or workplace environment. If you're looking for a mix of science, advocacy, and empowerment, this is the book. Next up on the list is Women and Girls on the Autism Spectrum Disorder by Sarah Hendricks and Judith Gold. This book is more on the academic side, but it's still such an important resource. It dives into how autism presents differently in women and girls, which often leads to late or missed diagnosis. It's packed with research, but it also includes personal accounts and case studies, making it a really good mix of data and lived experience. I think that this book is probably more useful for those who are working with autistic individuals or just wants a deeper understanding of how autism in women can manifest. If you like books that combine information and real-world application, this is it. I'll be honest with you, this one was rated for me a little bit lower just because it was less enjoyable to read. The next book that I want to talk about is Unmasking Autism by Dr. Devin Price. And this one was probably one of the most empowering books that I've read on the topic. The author dives deep into the concept of masking, what it is, why we do it, and how it negatively impacts our mental health over time. What I really loved about this book was how practical it was. Devin Price doesn't just tell us to stop masking. They guide us through the process of unmasking in a safe and meaningful way. They talk about building authentic connections, setting boundaries, and finding joy in being unapologetically yourself. Plus, their writing style is incredibly engaging and approachable. It's like they're cheering you on every step of the way. This is a must-read for anyone who is wanting to reclaim their authentic selves. The next book on the list, admittedly, I did not finish it, but it's still worth mentioning, and that is Sincerely Your Autistic Child by Sharon Davenport. This one is a beautiful book that's a collection of essays by autistic authors and edited by Sharon Davenport and the Autism Women's Network. It is a beautiful and powerful book. Each essay offers a unique perspective on growing up autistic, navigating relationships, and finding community. I think what makes this book so special is that autism isn't a one-size-fits-all, and the essays really capture that. It's a mosaic of voices, each adding something valuable to the conversation. The next book that I want to talk about, which is my current read, and that is The Electricity of Every Living Thing by Catherine May. This book is absolutely beautiful and is part memoir and part nature writing. Catherine shares her journey of self-discovery as she understands her autistic identity during a series of solo hikes. What I really loved about this book was how she connects her experience to the natural world. The way she describes sensory experiences, like the hum of electricity in everyday life. It's really breathtaking. It's reflective, poetic, and incredibly validating. If you're looking for something that is both deeply personal and beautifully written, this is the book. The last set of books that I want to talk about are children's books. And this is a collection all from the same author, Kathy Hoopman. We got these books because they looked silly and fun, and also to kind of help open up the conversation with our children about neurodiversity. So the first is All Cats Are on the Autism Spectrum, because they are. The next one is All Dogs Have ADHD, because they do. And lastly, All Birds Have Anxiety, because they also do. I will say that these books are a little bit more basic, a little more on the stereotypical side, especially I think with the one on autism, but they're still really valuable in beginning that conversation in like a simple and kind of fun way to understand for kids. So there you have it, friends. All of the books that I've read on autism and neurodiversity. Each book has taught me something new, helped me to feel seen, or given me tools to better understand and advocate for myself. If you've read any of these or have any recommendations of your own, please let me know in the comments. I always love hearing from you. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, and I'll see you guys in the next video.